Good morning.
Good
This
morning.
time we are live from Ruth's Stitchery, so happy Friday once again. We did delay our opening today, so we're doing our video a little bit later, and I'm here with Margaret and Jacque. If you have not met the Power Team, they are our machine service techs, and I'm just thrilled and think we're so blessed that our service techs, one, are women, and two, are quilters. So they completely understand how important our machines are to us, how sad we are when they don't work like they're supposed to, how we have withdrawals when we have to bring them in to get cleaned, and we plan very precisely when we're going to be out of town that we can bring it in so we don't lose our sewing time. But because they are quilters, I thought, why not have them be our staff pick? So we're going to ask them some questions. I'm encouraging you guys to ask some questions as well. And then first we're going to talk a little bit about their own quilting, and then we're going to talk about the machine service, and I'll turn it over to them after that because they know how to keep your machine humming. So first I want to start, and I'll ask you first, Margaret, what got you into quilting, and how long have you been quilting?
Well, I've been quilting for about, since I was about 10. My mother had a box of scraps, little squares that I sewed them together. Of course, I didn't know anything about matching seams or nested seams or anything like that. And that baby quilt that I made is still in existence.
Oh my gosh, and was that on like a featherweight or a treadle? Or?
No, it was on a Kenmore.
Kenmore,
There you
of course.
go. Kenmore, way back in the day.
Yeah. Wow,
So,
10 years old, that is, and that you still have it.
well, my son has it. It was his baby quilt. So.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And Jacque?
About 40 years. When my son was born, I made my first one, and believe me, it was so bad, my son didn't even know it was his baby quilt, and he threw it away. I don't have my first one.
I don't have my first one either.
I've been, 15 years is when I've been sewing consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So do you guys have a favorite quilt that you've ever made? I know that's really a hard question to ask, but is there one or two that are kind of your all-time favorites?
Oh gosh, I love everything. I mean, you know, that ruler for the
So kind of wonderful.
so kind of
Oh,
wonderful.
oh, yes.
Love that ruler.
If you've been in the store and you've seen the nativity quilt that hangs above the check-in desk in the back of the store, and the little girls, what is that pattern called?
Happy Together.
Happy Together, the little girls, Margaret did those. She loves that curved
I
ruler.
love that ruler. I've got all three of them that she has out, and probably half the patterns. So,
Yeah.
you know, I really like that nativity quilt. That's probably one of my favorites. I've made two of them. One's in my brother's house, and one's on the wall.
Crazy. How about you? Do you have a favorite?
I do, and it's actually just a 9-patch Irish chain, single Irish chain. It's made with grays and blues, and you know, it was a simple one, and every time I look at it, it makes me smile. It was kind of one of my introductions to quilting. And then I also just finished one that I'm so excited about, the Lakeside. It's been a block of the month that we've been working on since April, I believe.
Yes.
And we're on that last ends of it, and it is, wow.
She just showed us a picture this
Wilmington's
morning, and
did a
it's
really good job with
it's
it.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
Beautiful.
So.
All right. And what are you working on right now?
I am working on that pattern
The
with
new
the
one.
houses. Yeah.
This is also what's so great. Both Jacque and Margaret do store samples for us. And so Margaret is currently doing the brand new one that came in from the line Dwell from Camille Ross Skelly. And it's houses. I don't remember what the pattern.
Houses
And tulips. It's really pretty. So she brought a couple blocks in today. But we love that you tackle those boxed kits for us. Besides Lakeside, what are you currently working on?
I am working on a pattern called Chinese Fireworks. It's kind of an improv hexagon quilt using the lookout fabric from Jen Kingwell. It's going to be beautiful when I'm done, but it's been quite a challenge, so
Yeah.
I'm getting it.
Yeah. This is something I love about Jackie. She probably doesn't realize that I love this about her, but she will tackle new stuff. Like, you have
Part
no
of fun.
fear to just tackle new techniques. You know, she'll come in and with a pattern and go, is it okay if I try this one? And it's, you know, a little bit out of the box. And I'm like, absolutely, try it. And if you
This
like
one's
it,
out of the box.
will you teach a class? Will you teach a class on it if you
Yeah.
like it so much?
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. All right. Well, thanks for answering my quilting questions.
No problem.
Any questions that anybody has asked so far? Okay, so we're going to get into talking about your sewing machine, our pride, our joy, and even if you don't have a Viking, these two ladies have lots of advice about your sewing machine. And so I'd like to start and ask, what is one of the most important things that someone should know about how to take care of their machine?
Well, my number one concern is to use a good thread so that you don't have a lot of lint on your thread. We sell Aurifil in our store, which has got a long staple, and when you sew with that, you don't get a lot of fuzzies underneath. The other thing that I'm really adamant about is change your needle often.
Yes.
I mean, before I started in the sewing machine repair business, I don't even want to tell you how often I changed my needle. It was not pretty.
When it broke.
When it broke. But if you hit a pin even once, that turns your needle into something that looks kind of like a railroad spike. And going through your material, it'll catch the threads and it'll pull up. It causes skip stitches. It causes all kinds of things. So change your needle about every 8 hours and use really good thread.
Love that. Anything that you have?
I would suggest every time you change out the bobbin to brush it all out and get some of that fuzz out of there ahead of time, because it will make the bobbin work a lot more smoothly, and you'll get better results. So that was my
So
thought.
I use a Q-tip to do that. Is
Oh,
that
yes.
good? Or should I be using something else?
Q-tip is good.
Q-tip
And,
brush
and I actually
That
have
comes
a
with the
little
machine.
Yeah,
works
brush
really
that
well.
comes with the machine.
And I have a little 2 horsepower canister Armor All thing, and it sits underneath, and I have those little micro tools, and I use that to suck things out. We use that actually here in the store as well, to suck things out of your machine. So that can get into, you know, some of the thread that gets through the holes in the bobbin where you can't get to really with a Q-tip. So
And
that's
another thing, if you don't have that, is a long pair of tweezers, because you can just go in there and kind of gently grab at the fuzz. I wouldn't use the real pointed ones, but they've got the sewing ones that have more of a rounded end, and they work really well.
and turn your machine off when you're doing that. 'Cause
Yes,
we wouldn't want you
most
to hit
definitely.
something and get
Get a little zap.
And no canned air.
no canned air.
And why not?
Because it blows things right up into the back of your computer, onto the, there's a board in here, it's a computer. And you don't want to get dust and stuff on your computer board, because that could cause all kinds of issues, fires, boards to go out. Plus, it also gets into the feed system. And once that dust gets down into the joints of the feed system, then we have to replace the feed system, and that can get pricey. So we want to maintain our feed dogs in that system so that it lasts a long, long time.
Right.
So no blowing stuff in there.
Right. So vacuum, thumbs up.
Q-tip,
Canned air, not so good.
right, and that means blowing into your machine too.
Yeah, don't blow
Don't
into
blow
your
in,
machine.
don't get down there and go,
Yeah,
because that'll do it too.
it's hard to resist,
I
I know.
know, right?
All right, so when I first started sewing, you know, I didn't really know anything about my machine, and so as soon as something went wrong, you know, nest underneath, nest on top, something's wrong, of course my brain would always go, something's broken on my machine. And so I have since learned that there are a series of things you can do when something happens, because a lot of times it's a very simple fix that you can do yourself. So my question is, what is a series of things we can do personally before we say something's wrong with my machine?
ahead, take it.
First thing, shut it off, turn it back on, see if you're still having the same problems. Change your needle. Again, that's what a lot of us are. That's one of the main things. Even in school, that's what they taught us. You need to change that needle first thing and foremost, and try that first. Rethread. Take the bobbin out, clean it out, put that bobbin back in correctly, rethread your machine to see if sometimes things get a little whacked out. The other day, my thread actually frayed out, and I had no idea that was happening, and that's why I was getting breakage. So it was a part of the thread. So start there. That's your first thing. Any other ideas?
That's what I would do first.
And hold the tail. If you have to.
You don't have to all the time
Yeah.
on our machines, because these machines are made so that you should be able to step and go.
Yeah.
So the tails are cut to stay.
Right.
So we should be good
But
there.
if you're having problems that way, holding your tail on older machines as well as a leader and ender if you choose to do that.
And we take calls too. I mean, if you get stuck and you go, I've got to bring it in, pick up the phone and give us a call first. Sometimes we can problem solve with you over the phone, and we like doing that. So, that's always an option as well.
Yeah. Okay, so my last question to you is, what is something that most people may not realize about how a sewing machine actually works?
My favorite question. I'll take that one.
Go for it.
You're very
Okay.
mechanical, so
Yes.
I love this.
A lot of people, well, some people know this, but a lot of people really don't. When you're threading your sewing machine, you should always do it with the presser foot up. Because when you have the presser foot down, there's two little tension discs inside your machine. And when you put the presser foot down, those discs snap shut. And if you're trying to thread it, your thread is not going to get in between those two little discs the way it should. So always have the foot up, then you can thread it. And if you need to put it down so you can see the eye of the needle, that's the very last thing you do. Then you've done all the threading, you get right to the end, you're ready to thread that needle, put the presser foot down then and poke the thread through the eye of the needle. And if you'll do that, it'll always get into the right place where it needs to go. My favorite question.
And I was always told too, if your machine has a needle threader on it, that your needle needs to be in the most upright position.
Exactly.
Is that
Right.
is correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a good thing too. Sometimes people will bring their machines in and they'll say, my needle threader's not working. Well, the first thing I do as a tech when I have that issue is I unscrew the needle, push up as far as I can get it, and tighten it again. 9 times out of 10, it'll really work. It's the needle wasn't
The
pushed
needle
up
wasn't all the way up.
where it needed to be. So try that first if you have it where it doesn't work.
Right. Anything that you
No,
can think
right
of?
on the money. That's exactly.
All right. Any questions from our viewers? No questions.
All
You
right.
can always, this video is going to be up on our Facebook page, so you can always make a comment and send a question, and we'll try to answer it as quickly as we can. I say we. These two will try to answer
No,
it as
she's
quickly
pretty good
as
at
we
it.
can get to them.
I do have one other thing
Sure,
to share.
absolutely.
When you bring your machine into us for service, there's a couple things you need to remember to bring. I like to see the foot
Yes.
pedal and the power cord. You would not believe how many power cords come in here that have been chewed up by pets, and that could be a fire hazard. So that really what I'm doing is I'm inspecting your power cord to make sure that it's in good shape. The other thing, on our newer machines, there is a program inside of our service menu that allows us to run a test on your foot pedal. So if we don't have your foot pedal, we can't actually run that test. If you're not having problems with the foot pedal or starting and stopping or anything, I mean, it's not imperative that you have to bring it. We have foot pedals here, we can get around that, but we really like to run that test on it. So power cord foot pedal, and then Jackie and I do a lot of fancy stitching when we service a machine. We need that zigzag needle plate because we need to be able to stitch side to side, and sometimes people will bring their machines in and they'll have that single hole needle plate. If we have one here in the store, then we can swap out and use it, to do our sewing. But if we don't have one that matches your machine, then we're kind of left up a creek without a paddle there, and we're going to call you to come back in.
We have a question.
All right.
Sometimes the cutter cuts the top thread but not the bobbin thread. Why is this?
Have you cleaned your cutter lately? And if you haven't, let me tell you what to do. You turn your machine off, you get a little screwdriver, and behind that little thread cutter arm, you push it forward, and then you can actually rotate that little thread knife up, and usually there's a big lump of lint stuck in there. And you pick that out, and then very carefully with your finger pull that little thread arm back to the back side.
So I'm thinking not everybody knows where that thread cutter is. Can you pop that off?
Sure
And
could.
maybe
Let me get a.
since we've been asked the question,
Right.
I'd be happy to zoom in and
yeah, maybe
Let me get a.
LQ can get a little closer and you
we'll
can
get a-
see
I'll put a
where
light
it
on
is.
here, and I'll actually show you how to do it. Okay, so you take this off. Always turn your needle plate up like that so that you don't put pressure on these two little pieces because they will bend. You pull this out, you take your bobbin case out, and then right here is that little thread arm. And let me get the light on it right there. Okay, and you just kind of see how it slides out. You can actually pull this up and then get your screwdriver or a Q-tip and come back here and use, oh look, there's a little thread lint buddy that's been hiding in there. Pull that out. Usually they're a lot bigger than that. And then rotate that back down. And then with your finger, just slide this back in. I always tell people to do that with your machine turned off. Now, if that doesn't work, then what you need to do is bring it into us because we have another kind of an adjustment that we can do to it, but I don't want you doing that at home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just wanted to make a comment that little piece that you pulled upright, so you
Right.
pushed it out and then you had a piece
Right.
upright. That's the knife.
That is the knife.
Right.
So handle with
That's the
very
knife. So
extreme
please
care.
be careful with
Yeah,
that.
this is very sharp. If you want to take it close in
yep,
here.
I can
okay.
come back.
This little knife, you see how it rotates up? Well, if you rotate it up, it actually will come out like this. But be careful because that's a razor blade on the end. And then you, in order to put it back in, you have to have it vertical like that and poke it back in the hole and then just rotate it down and it's back in place, and then always pull that piece back, that little arm.
Donna Sheridan says thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent.
You're welcome. The
Excellent.
Okay, going on too about what you need to bring. So we like to have the power cord, the foot pedal. We like the zigzag needle plate, and we don't need a foot unless you're having a problem. So, but we do like to have your little white ankle, and that is a piece. Let me see if I've got one here.
Yep, right there.
I
Right
see it
here.
right there, yeah.
Yeah, that's this little guy. He's screwed in. We like to have that
Oh,
piece
hang
on your machine, and it's screwed in. It makes it easier for us. If you forget and take it off, it's no big deal because we have extras of those. But you can leave the ankle on, take the foot, because both Jackie and I have a tendency to keep
Yeah,
your feet.
you don't want us to keep your feet.
Yeah, if you bring them in, so we try to get everybody to take them off. Under the cover, we don't need any of your thread holders. And the thread caps, you could take all those off. Oh, and that brings me to another thing I just thought of. A lot of people don't know this, but your thread cap needs to be equal to or smaller than the size of your thread. So if you've got a little tiny thing of thread and you put a big giant thread cap on, that can mess up the tension on your machine. So always make it equal to or smaller. But that's really all we need is the zigzag needle plate and the little ankle with the screw, and then your foot pedal and your power cord, and we can take it from there. One other thing too, I'm thinking of all these things.
Yes.
These are all the things I've been wanting to share.
This is what I admire about both of these women. They think of all these things.
If you are having a problem with something, make sure that when you bring your machine in, and let's say you're having skip stitches, well, Jackie and I need to see the needle plate that you're using to sew when you get those skip stitches. We had a lady that came in and she had a single hole needle plate on, and she was getting skip stitches. Well, we actually, she brought it in with the zigzag first, and then we couldn't get it to skip stitches. Well, finally I said, okay, I want to see it, just what you're doing with what you're doing it with. And she brought in that single hole needle plate. Well, it had a little built up piece underneath here, and she had hit it with a needle, and there was a big
Like a burr
burr
in there?
on the needle plate. Once we changed her needle plate, no more skip stitches. So
It's
we have
amazing
to
how something so small can
Yeah.
make such a
And
difference.
sometimes you can't, they're so small you can't see them.
Yeah.
No.
but you imagine how little your thread is, and it can just get caught on something like that.
And so, if you're having a problem, then help us out, and we could get to it a lot quicker if you bring in everything that you're having the problem with, and then we can kind of go from there. It's kind of like being a detective,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is fun.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
We do not.
Okay.
All right. Well, I like to end my little staff talks here. Number 2 staff talk with rapid fire, which
Uh-oh.
they don't know what I'm going to ask, so I'm going to move so they're next to each other.
Okay. We're in
Okay.
trouble now.
So basically, I'm going to throw 2 things out, and you guys answer. Don't give it a lot of thought. Just say what your preference of the 2 things is. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Dog or cat?
Dog. Multiple.
Beach or mountain?
Mountains.
Oh my gosh. Same as last time.
Different answers, but
Yes. Read a book or watch TV?
Read a book.
Watch TV.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Oh.
Both.
Yeah. That would fit.
Or back to back?
Yeah.
All right, final question. Wash or no wash?
No wash.
Oh, no wash.
No wash.
No wash.
Oh, no wash.
No wash.
No, I get it. Okay, I get it. That was a time joke. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Brenda Zeman says, thanks, ladies. Great talk with wonderful information.
Hi,
Yes.
Brenda.
Hi, Brenda. All right. Thank you, ladies, for
You're
doing
welcome.
this.
You're welcome.
You know, I don't want to always be the one talking, and they have so much information. So I'm so thrilled that we were able to do this. Thank you guys again.
My pleasure.
Come and see us when
Yes.
we're back in the back.
Yeah.